From Thom Hartmann's Daily Take Substack. One battle after another is what happens when art refuses to kneel. Conservatives call Anderson's film, quote, irresponsible, end quote, because it dares to show what happens when power turns its guns on the powerless. Published on October 8th, 2025. The following is a song inspired by this article.
This week's been a war of headlines. One battle after another. And through it all, I keep hearing that art's to blame. But it isn't. It never was.
They send troops into our neighborhoods. They kick down doors in the night. They redraw the maps of freedom and call that justice done right. But a song ain't a weapon, and a movie's not a sin. It's a truth they can't handle that keeps burning in the wind. Art is not the enemy. Authoritarianism is. You can jail a poet, but the words still live. You can ban a story, but the truth still bleeds. Art is not the enemy. Authoritarianism is. The brush, the pen, the drum, the voice that dares to rise. They call it chaos, but it's only people opening their eyes. You can take away the spotlight, but not the spark beneath the skin. Every time they try to silence us, the song begins again. Art is not the enemy. Authoritarianism is. You can raid the canvas, but the colors still resist. You can burn the records, but the echo still exists. Art is not the enemy. Authoritarianism is. Truth is outlawed. The outlaw tells the truth. And when power shakes in fear, that's when you know the song is working. So sing it loud. For those who can, paint it bright. For those who won't, because silence serves power. And art serves freedom. Art is not the enemy. Art is not the enemy. Authoritarianism is.
This week has felt like one battle after another. We watched video after video of ICE agents dropping from helicopters into a Chicago apartment, kicking in doors and terrorizing Black and Hispanic American and immigrant families, then trashing and stealing their possessions without ever presenting a warrant signed by a judge. The GOP pushed the country to the brink again with another government shutdown threat, while right-wing legislatures redrew districts to erase the votes of millions. We heard more talk of arresting journalists for doing their jobs and watched as the military rolled through American cities as if people here are the enemy. Each day has felt like a slow-motion assault on democracy itself. Louise and I went to see Leonardo DiCaprio's new movie, One Battle After Another, last weekend, and I was stunned. It's a film of rare courage and artistry. From the first scene to the last, Paul Thomas Anderson reminds us that cinema can still tell the truth about power and conscience. It's a film that demands attention, not permission. The movie runs about 2.5 hours, but it's so action and drama-packed that it felt like it flew by in less than an hour. I knew people similar to those characterized in this movie when I was in East Lansing SDS back in 1968 and 9. Seeing them portrayed like this was a hoot. This is truly brilliant filmmaking. Predictably, conservatives rushed to condemn it. Some labored it, quote, irresponsible, end quote, or claimed it, quote, glorifies violence, end quote. What they really mean is that it unsettles them. They prefer art that flatters authority and soothes the comfortable. This film refuses to do either. The world Anderson portrays is not a fantasy. When government agents execute suspects, when protests are manipulated to justify repression, when truth is distorted by propaganda, that is not simply fiction. It reflects the deep anxiety of a society that's watched Trump's executive power become far too concentrated and way too cruel. Anyone paying attention to the news knows how real that danger feels. The right-wing National Review published a piece titled, quote, "There will be bloodlust in one battle after another," end quote, that accused Anderson of romanticizing 1960s radicalism. Yet, Leonardo DiCaprio, who stars in the film, called it a, quote, timely satire, end quote. Speaking to Reuters, he said, quote, "It's not a film where people are imposing any political beliefs on anyone else. It's satire on both ends," end quote. That contrast says everything. Conservatives want to see chaos. Anderson and his cast are inviting reflection. The violence in the film is not triumphant. It's painful, personal, and tragic. It shows what happens when injustice festers until ordinary people begin to break, as I saw in the people I knew in the Weather Underground back in the day. History reminds us that art has always frightened the powerful. Uncle Tom's Cabin was banned in the South because it forced them to confront slavery. Upton Sinclair's The Jungle was smeared by industrialists for revealing the cruelty of unregulated capitalism. Protest music in the 1960s and artists like Bob Dylan and Pete Seeger were condemned as, quote, unpatriotic, end quote, by the same crowd that called Dr. King a radical. When art tells the truth, power always howls. Today, the same pattern repeats. The same right-wing billionaires funding, quote, outrage, end quote, over this film, are working to silence the teachers, censor libraries, and rewrite history to protect privilege. They fear a nation that can still feel empathy. They fear that what happens when people start asking why power serves so few. In One Battle After Another, it's not a call to arms. It is instead a warning about what happens when corruption becomes normal and compassion becomes rare. It asks to look at the machinery of cruelty and decide whether we'll stand by or resist. That choice is the same one that generations before us have faced. If this film makes people uncomfortable, that's its purpose. Democracy doesn't survive by comforting the powerful. It survives when ordinary people demand justice and truth, even when it stings. One battle after another will be called divisive by those who profit from division. They're wrong. The real division in this country is between those who believe art should serve power and those who believe art should challenge it. I stand with the challengers, because when we fall silent, we serve power, and when we speak, we hold it to account.